Welcome to the living room. We are always so grateful and happy that you decided to join us, and you will not be sorry. As you know, last week on the living room, we talked about tips for staying healthy during this time of COVID. And I had two awesome guests, and if you didn't watch that, you need to watch that. Well, today we're going to specifically be talking about the COVID vaccine. You know, Shakespeare said, to be or not to be, that is the question. Well, that's really the question right now with the COVID vaccine for so many people. Should I or shouldn't I? And I have a special guest today, Dr. Nicole Sims. Dr. Sims is the chief hospitalist at the community hospital in San Bernardino, where all four of my children were born. And she is the assistant chief hospitalist at St. Bernardine's Hospital in San Bernardino. So we're going to talk right now to Dr. Sims. And let me just say that, even before, listen, we're not here to tell you to take it, the shot, or not to. We're not here to persuade you or dissuade you. We are here to give you some, well, even I'm not. Dr. Sims is going to give you some information about the COVID vaccine. Now, she's just guiding you. You can call her office, I guess, and get an appointment. But you should talk to your own doctor, and with any information you get, we are in the age of information. Go and check and go online, and we'll give you some sites that you can check for information also. So let's get started. All right. Hello, Dr. Sims.
Hello.
Well, it's so good to have you. And I'm going to say right from the start, you look so young. You look like you should just be getting ready to go into college, not having graduated from medical school. And I just really want to give you a proper introduction.
Okay.
So I'm going to read you her bio. All right. So Dr. Nicole Sims is a graduate of Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles and obtained her Bachelor of Science degree in biology. She then attended Lake Erie College of Medicine in Pennsylvania. I'm from Pennsylvania. I grew up in Pennsylvania. And received her medical doctorate there in 2008. She continued her medical training at Pacific Hospital of Long Beach, California, serving there as their chief resident and completing both an internship and residency in internal medicine. After residency, she completed a year of research in clinical trials involving hepatitis C and asthma as a principal investigator. She is currently practicing as a board-certified doctor of internal medicine in Southern California and serves as the chief hospitalist at her current institution. She is heavily involved in leadership. She enjoys teaching and dreams of the day she can operate her own hospital in the name of Jesus.
Yes, Lord.
And residency program to train young upcoming physicians. She gives all glory and honor to God. Without him, none of these things would be possible, but with him, all things are possible. Let me just give a shout out to her church. She is a member of the Mount Sinai Church of God in Christ in Pomona, where our friend Bishop Rohn is the senior pastor, and we all know that he also is a medical doctor. So, Dr. Sims, once again, hi.
Hello, how are you?
I am great.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm grateful that you are here. I'm grateful to have you. So, we have a lot of questions.
Yes.
You know that in minority communities, period, and it's not just minorities, people, period, are wanting to know about the COVID shot. But it's particularly the percentages are high in minority communities as to whether or not they are going to want to get this.
Absolutely.
So let's just talk about the COVID vaccine. How does it work?
Okay, the COVID vaccine. So, you know, the COVID vaccine has been so politicized in the media. I mean, it's gotten more, you know, media coverage than any vaccine that we've had in our time. And so what we know about coronavirus is that it enters your cell through a specific protein called a spike protein.
Okay.
And so when they were talking about how are we going to engineer a vaccine, because, you know, so many people are dying, it's, you know, prevalent in our nation, how can we make a vaccine? And so what they have been studying for many years, the mRNA vaccine and mRNA technology is not new.
Oh, really?
No, they've been doing mRNA technology in cancer therapy for many years, for like 10 years or so. Okay. But they've never used this type of technology for vaccination purposes. But we know how to use mRNA. And basically, what messenger RNA is our cells use messenger RNA as a message to make proteins. And so what the epidemiologists thought were, listen, what if we took this messenger RNA and used it to make something similar to the coronavirus spike protein so that our body can recognize this as foreign and build up an immune response and help to fight the coronavirus. Okay. And so that's exactly what they've done. They've created this, they use our messenger RNA to create a coronavirus protein. It is not the coronavirus. They are not injecting you with coronavirus. It has no viral particles or the vaccine, nothing like that. No killed particles, nothing like that.
So this works similar, now you can correct me, so like our white blood cells. When it's similar, when something comes in your body, your white blood cells attack it?
Yes, exactly. And so what happens with coronavirus and why it's so deadly and so serious is when the coronavirus comes into your body, it infects your cells and it like hijacks your cells to make more coronavirus. Okay. And it's like, you know, a terrorist of sorts, you know.
Cancer. Isn't that what cancer does?
It's similar to cancer, you know.
Okay.
And so it makes your body produce more viral particles to further infect your body. And the challenge is by the time your immune system recognizes something is going on, something in your body is foreign, so much havoc has been created in the body. It's affected so many organs that a lot of people's immune system isn't strong enough to mount a response and to overcome the virus.
Wow. Okay, so then you have the Moderna, the Pfizer, the J&J that just came out. Can you tell us a little bit about those three vaccines?
So Moderna and Pfizer are very similar vaccines. They use the same mRNA technology that we were talking about to make the spike protein to help boost your immune system. One, you need the first shot you take and then 21 days after, and then for Moderna it's 4 weeks after. And the idea is for the two shots is that you will give your body recognition and memory cells of the viral particles. And so when you get the second vaccine, it's supposed to boost your immune response. So it's like a fact check, right? It's like,
Okay.
did the first part work, and will you mount an immune response? Will your body recognize this as something foreign and something bad that we have to kill and take over? And so that's why people a lot of times, and we could talk about side effects too, have more of a reaction to the second vaccine.
My girlfriend, Mary Martin, she just got the second vaccine shot. And we were talking the other night, and she was telling me that she had some chills and just a slight stomach ache, but she had nothing after the first shot. So why is that again?
So when you get the first vaccination, your body is making this viral particle-like thing, and your body may not mount a strong immune response for the first vaccine.
Okay.
And so when you get the second vaccine, your body is like, hey, we've seen this. This is no good. This is evil. This is the enemy. This is the devil. This is a trick of the enemy. And so your body mounts a bigger immune response, thinking that, this is a full-on attack. This means war. You know that song, This Means War?
That's why I have my, this is why I wear camouflage today.
Yes.
I wear my fatigue specifically because we are in a war.
And so, and I just want to be clear about something. You want your body to mount an immune response. All of the things that you have, like fever, chills, that it means that the vaccination is working. It means that your body is seeing this thing as foreign and mounting an immune response. We want those things to happen. And so people are like, oh, this is gonna get me sick with corona. That's not true, but it is gonna make your body react, and that's what we want. We want your body to build immunity. We want your body, if it's ever in contact with COVID-19 again, it knows that this is something that we need to take care of and do a full-on attack.
Now, I equate everything to the Word
Yes.
of God. So you just said something. So it's almost like, on a spiritual realm, when we go through a trial in our lives, and as a result of that trial, we get stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. We learn how to depend upon God. We learn how to pray. And those things that used to knock us down when we were younger in the Lord, now those things come and you're like, oh, I know how to handle that.
Exactly.
I know how to pray for that. So it's similar to that in the physical realm.
In the spiritual realm and the physical, absolutely, absolutely. That's good. I'm going to use that.
Oh, yeah,
on
definitely.
my next podcast.
Yeah, no, definitely use that. Okay. So now it causes your body to make antibodies?
Yes. Oh, I forgot the J&J.
Okay.
So the J&J, Johnson & Johnson, is a little bit different than the Pfizer and Moderna.
Okay.
The J&J has a DNA strand in it. It is a DNA has a strand of DNA that's encased in an adenovirus, which is like a regular cold virus. And they use that adenovirus as a carrier to get it into your body. And so it has a piece of DNA that, again, sets off the messenger RNA to make the spike protein. And that happens in the nucleus of the cell. And that's a little bit different mechanism than the Pfizer and Moderna. But it's the same, similar concept that we're creating the spike protein so that your body recognizes it as foreign and it can't infect your cells.
So at the end of the day, they all three do the same thing. But now when you start talking about the DNA with the J&J...
People are afraid.
Okay, now I'm like, okay, I need a little bit more
People are
information
afraid.
on
People
that
are
one.
afraid.
Can you break that down just a little bit more so that those of us that are not doctors can understand that?
So, there was... So this is my caveat. I'm a medical doctor. I believe in science. And so I believe in trials and testing things out and recreating things so that it can make sense. And so there's a lot of conspiracies out there about, things that are not true. They're not true. And so I'm not a conspiracy theorist, although I read a lot about conspiracy theory because we need to know what people are thinking and how to address these things.
That's correct.
So we're not grinding up fetal babies and injecting them in your cells. They're not aborted fetuses. None of that is being used in the corona.
That's good because I've actually
virus.
heard that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can talk about that at another
Okay.
time and how it came to be. But so what it is a piece of genetic material. Okay, it's synthesized genetic material. It's not taken from anyone else. Back long time ago, I think in the 80s, they did the genetic code, right? The
Okay.
DNA, the double strand.
Right,
We got the
right.
genetic code. We know,
Yeah, we've all seen those.
yeah, we've all seen the little helix
Yeah.
things and whatever. So we know the genetic code. So we can use that to synthesize to synthesize DNA particles to make proteins, to make whatever we need to make. And so that's what's in that little virus. It's not anyone else's DNA. It's just part of a genetic code.
Okay. Well,
I hope that made it not more simple.
bottom line is,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they all three do the same thing. However, my question is, I know that Moderna and Pfizer were 95% efficiency. How do you say that? Not just efficient,
Efficacious.
efficacious. Okay. But the J&J, I think it's like 67. It's way.
Yeah, yeah.
So explain that.
So when Johnson & Johnson did their study, they looked at different endpoints, different results than Pfizer and Moderna did. Pfizer and Moderna just looked at, are people infected with the virus or are they not?
Okay.
Johnson & Johnson looked at how sick do people get? Do they have moderate disease? Do they have severe disease? Will they end up in the hospital?
Okay.
So Johnson & Johnson looked at the severity of disease that people had. The other thing that Johnson & Johnson looked at, because part of the study was done in South America and South Africa, they looked at the South African variant. And I know you've been seeing that in the
yes.
news
We need to talk about that too. Yeah.
the variant strains of the coronavirus. And what does that mean in terms of vaccination and all of those things? We've seen that in the South African variant, that there is a little bit more resistance. There's been a mutation in the virus. And so Johnson & Johnson also looked at the efficacy of the virus in the variant. When the studies, the people that were in the South African arm of the study, 95% of them had the variant. And so that's why the numbers are a little bit lower in the Johnson & Johnson in terms of efficacy, because they were studying the variant as well as a different endpoint, how sick people got. And so it's like kind of comparing like apples and like tangerines and mandarin oranges.
Right. Okay. No, I really get that, and now it makes sense, because when I was watching TV one day, it was saying that if the Johnson & Johnson had used the same
Endpoints, yeah.
endpoints, it would also be
Exactly.
up in the 90s. But yeah, go on. No, you're
also,
the knowledgeable one.
I get so excited about coronavirus because I read so
See?
much.
Great. That's what you're here for. Okay.
The one thing that they don't mention in Johnson & Johnson, you won't see this in the news, is that when they looked at antibody titers, when they looked at people that had antibodies at 60 days, at 49 days and 60 days, the efficacy got better as time went on.
Oh, really?
What does that mean? That means that as time goes on, our bodies are building more and more antibodies, so that increases the efficacy. It increases how efficient the actual vaccine is.
So I know they're all good, but from what I'm hearing from you, and also what I heard from Dawn the other day, over a long period of time, it seems like the J&J is going
It's
to
better.
actually.
Yeah.
That's what I
Now,
heard.
this data is preliminary. They haven't
okay.
released it. It hasn't been like reviewed like Pfizer and Moderna has. So all of the data that we're looking at is just raw data.
Well,
So,
and we're still in the early days
Yes.
period of this, which brings me to a question.
okay.
Okay, because this is a question that I have asked, and it's a question that I've had a lot of people ask me all the time, have you gotten your vaccine? Are you going to get your vaccine? And I'm like, you need to be like the Berean church. You need to study for yourself, okay? And so, with that, one, how long does it last?
Okay.
How am I going to get this? Am I going to have to get this shot again?
So from what we know so far, we're thinking that we'll have immunity for at least a year or so, depending on if there are more mutations and more variants. you know, and the challenge is going to be getting people vaccinated before we have more variants and more mutations of the virus. Because if the virus is out there running wild and people aren't getting vaccinated and they're spreading it to everybody, then there's more of a chance that it could mutate and change into something different.
Okay, so, I mean, really, you can watch TV, and if you don't have the Word of God, God is not the author of fear, but of power and love and sound mind.
Yes.
You look at TV right now and see the hundreds
Yes.
of variants that are already, have already morphed, mutated from this. So, okay, so one question once again. So the antibodies that are produced, we just don't know
Right.
how long they're going to last.
Yes, they're thinking projections are a year or so. You may need, like similar to flu, like a booster in a year
Okay.
or so. But, you know, all of this is just kind of like speculation at this point because we
Right.
don't really know.
So every year when they have the flu shot, that's a different flu shot every year, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or-
what they do is they look at the sample population of what kind of strains are most prevalent in the world or wherever in the population, and they put something together, mix it up, and that's what you get in the
Because
flu.
the flu, it seems like it morphs like
It does.
every year.
It does. Adenoviruses are known to have mutation. They're just so simple. They're simple viruses, so they're easy to mutate.
Give me a comparison. I mean, we're not holding you to anything, just as a medical doctor,
Yeah.
you know. The flu is this dangerous on level 3, and COVID is this dangerous on, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So COVID makes the flu virus look like a preschooler.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it is that serious. So when we look at how many people, so 790,000 people died in 1 month from coronavirus. In a whole year, across the world, people died of that in the flu.
Wow.
So the
Okay.
challenge with coronavirus is that you just don't know how well people are going to do. You don't know who's going to get very, very sick. You don't know who's going to do well and recover. And you don't know if you're going to have any long-lasting effects after you recover from the vaccine,
And
from the
that's-
virus.
I saw a lady on TV a couple weeks ago. She had gotten the coronavirus. She said and she was young. Yeah, this lady had to be, maybe not young to you, but this lady was probably in her like early 50s. And she was saying she had been so healthy. She got coronavirus, and her doctors are telling her she's going to have to be on oxygen for years.
Yes, yes. There's a syndrome called long hauler syndrome.
Okay.
And it's people that have recovered from coronavirus, but they have long-lasting effects well after the virus is gone because it's created so much havoc, so much inflammation, scarring in the lungs, kidneys, it affects the neurological system. You know, when people say they lose their sense of taste and smell,
Yeah.
that lets us know that coronavirus has some action in our brain. It can cross the blood-brain barrier and enter into our, our neurological system. And flu and flu virus doesn't really do that. You know, people say all the time like, oh, I got coronavirus and I did okay, and but there are people that are going to live with long-lasting effects from COVID-19, even if you recover. People, we're seeing people with what we call cardiomyopathy, with weakened hearts. They look like they're like lupus patients for years and years, and they have nothing but coronavirus. People on dialysis. People have strokes after coronavirus.
Okay, that makes me wonder, I'm sure that somebody's doing this someplace, because see, if I was a scientist, I would want to be doing a study to show why certain people get it and have long-term effects, and then why do some people get it and they're fine after that. They are pretty much, after a couple of months, they are back to normal.
Right.
I know several people that have had coronavirus. Doctor, when this first came out, you were hearing about all these numbers, but nobody knew anybody that actually had it. And that's why it's like, you know what? Now, I know so many people who have had coronavirus. I have one great friend who's in the hospital right now. We don't even know if he's going to make it. Another one, praise God. For you guys, Sister C is doing a little bit better. She's not going down now. At least she's coming up. It might
Praise
be
God.
a slow process, but she is coming up. So praise God. But she's had that for a while. So I know a lot of people that
Yeah.
have had this.
Yeah.
And different ones are coming out different ways. You know, that's so, okay. Let's talk about, well, I have so many questions here. I mean, I really do. So, and if you want to just answer something that I haven't even answered. So let's talk about, well, we just talked about the side effects of the COVID, but side effects of this, the side effects not just of the virus attacking your body, but side effects of the COVID vaccine.
The COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
So, so far with the COVID vaccine, the side effects have been minimal. The most serious side effect is what we call anaphylaxis, where your throat closes up, your lips swell, your eyes swell, and those usually happen within the first 15 minutes of getting the vaccination. Of the 2.3 million people that have been vaccinated so far, there's only been 51 cases of anaphylaxis. So that's 0.00.
Oh, really? Of 2.5 million?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
51 documented cases, 0.0053%.
Okay. Well, you can finish that because now that's going to make me want to ask another question.
So the common symptoms that people have, and we kind of talked about this a little bit
Right.
with the vaccination, is muscle aches. You may get tenderness at the site, with the injection site. Fever, headache, chills, muscle aches. Some people get diarrhea. Those are the most common ones, and those are expected because like we said before, your
Yeah.
immune system is responding.
I'm like Paul, just so you know. You know, in the Bible, Paul said, you know, I know I'm going to tell you that. I know I already told you this, but it's good that I'm going to tell you a second time. So that's why, and we're not doctors. We haven't been to medical school and been working in the medical field since 2008. Okay.
I love to teach. I love, you know, all these questions. I love it.
That is great. Talk to me about pregnant women.
Pregnant women. So we know that coronavirus affects pregnant women in a little bit different way because they're carrying a baby. And so the outcomes are worse with pregnancy and coronavirus. You have early delivery, premature delivery. The baby could be born with respiratory problems. The mother could have respiratory problems. We also know that mom's immunity goes to baby's immunity. Mom passes antibodies to baby. And so the recommendation is for pregnant women to get vaccinated for coronavirus, actually.
Okay, so that brings me to a question now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know some people have not gotten the vaccine, including me, okay, being honest, because I really believe that with the technology that we have today, I know they call this Operation Warp Speed, but I believe that they could medically, as they did, come out with a effective vaccine. However, howsoever, okay, my question is this, okay, and I'm going to preface this with, this is February. A year ago, we were still having church. We were still doing everything, okay? So it's not even been a year since that they could even chart the long-term effects of the vaccine. We know it'll keep you from dying.
Yeah.
But if you die and you got 15 fingers instead of 10, if you don't die, but you're walking around like Edward Scissorhands.
So,
and I know I'm being facetious, but
yeah.
I'm really serious too.
No,
but,
that's
okay.
a common question, like, oh, it's so fast. How do we come up with a vaccination so fast? Like measles took 5 years. So there's a couple of reasons why.
Okay.
The first reason is when you have a lot of money and a lot of people that are working on things, things get done quickly.
Yeah.
But when we're doing these clinical trials, they went through all the phases, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the phases, but they were done simultaneously.
Okay.
And that before hadn't been done. Usually when we are making vaccinations, people have to use their own money, right? So the drug company has to come up with the money, they have to go to their investors, they have to do the phase 1, then have to look at it, see if they get more money from the investors. And so now when you have unlimited resources, unlimited money, because so many people are dying, things move quickly. And so what they did was they ran a lot of the trials at the same time. So while trial 1 was going on, phase 2 was going on. They were moving quickly through. But the safety was never compromised. I looked at all the safety data for Moderna. I looked at all the safety data for Pfizer. I read every single page of that 50-something page
Wow.
study because it's important to me. We have to have representation in our community because this is affecting our community so much. We need to know what is going on and the truth about this actual vaccine. And so as a Black healthcare provider, as a person of color, it's our responsibility to educate our community and educate our loved ones and be that voice you know, in a time of darkness so that people can know that they're going to be okay. There's a lot of uncertainty because of Tuskegee. There's like, you know, medical distrust that is all valid. It's all valid. What they've done to us for years and years and years,
Yes.
it's all valid. But this is not that. This is not Tuskegee. This is not, no one's trying to kill off the Black community. It's none of those things. We're actually trying to save our community and help you all get vaccinated so that we can live a little bit longer. So that's important.
That is very, really good. I'm so busy listening to you. Okay, so I had another question here, and that was, okay, if you get, oh, no, let's go right here. The trials. What was the cross-section of people? You know, these are the things that, because different, it's amazing, but I know that different people react to different medicines according to their nationality, or however you want to say that. And anyhow, so what was the cross section?
It was a great sampling of actually what our population reflects. For Pfizer, I think it was like 9.8% were African American.
Okay.
Which is really kind of reflective.
That's what I'm asking.
Right. That's reflective of the United States. And
okay.
They had a good cross section: men, women, all ethnicities, all like socioeconomic backgrounds. I mean, really, for when Pfizer first came out, they had to turn away people, participants that wanted to be involved because there were so many people and they couldn't really keep up with the study. But they still added more people towards the end. But it was actually a good cross-section of people, a good sampling of people that is reflective of what our community really looks like.
Now, that's really good because that's responsible.
Mm-hmm.
But I did read someplace that they have not really done a lot of testing on pregnant women.
They hadn't done a lot of testing on pregnant women. They have not done, in the study for Pfizer and both Moderna, they did not include pregnant women in those studies at all. So, you know, a lot of the recommendations are based on CDC guidelines and what we know about immunology and about antibody passing through mommy to baby.
Well, because I have a couple of friends right now, and I just told them, you know what, you just need to stay home and stay in the house.
Yeah.
Send somebody out to do your grocery shopping, and until they get the more data, or until God either tells you, whether He's telling you, you know, God speaks to us in so many different ways. If God tells you to get it, that's fine. If God doesn't, I'm like, stay your butt in the house. And so, seriously.
So that's true.
No, seriously, stay home.
Yeah, if you're, you know, especially for pregnant women, because we don't have a lot of data. I mean, we really don't. Yeah. That's the truth. You know, you have to talk to your OB-GYN, talk to your healthcare providers to see, like, if you're at risk, if you're low risk, you know, they kind of weigh all of those options.
Okay, and that's the other thing. So I do have a lot of friends who are older, and they are not, like my mom. My mom is, now you wouldn't know it, my mom is 92 years old. And she really looks like my big sister. You know, we have some great
Oh, you should
genes.
see my mom.
Okay.
You have good genes, yes.
Okay, good genes. And so she's not going, she says she's not getting the vaccine because she doesn't go any place. She orders her groceries. She doesn't allow anybody in that house. We call her all the time, and we're trying to teach her how to do Zoom. And she watches the service on TV.
Oh, good.
Okay, so she says, I don't see why I should get that because I'm not going out. Well, and her health, even though she's 92, she takes like no medicine at all.
Yeah,
So
the
she can-
challenge is
Yes.
a couple of challenges.
Okay.
The challenge is that we know people 80 and over, if they get coronavirus, their expected survival rate is only 25%.
Wow.
So 75% chance that they're not going to
Wow.
survive a COVID coronavirus infection. Okay, so what does that mean? And we've seen this so many times. I work in a hospital, I work in ICU, I see ICU patients. We've seen this so many times that grandma's at home, right? She's not going anywhere, but the grandkids are coming by, they're dropping off the groceries. They may stay a little bit too long. They may like hug her because they haven't seen her
Because
so long.
they haven't seen her and they love her.
And they love her, and
Yeah.
and that's, it's
and
what
you
it
can't
is.
see a germ.
You can't. And
Yeah.
we know also too, for elderly people, they only need a little bit of inoculation. They only need a little bit of viral particles, because your mom is 92, but her immune system is also 92 years old as well.
Exactly.
Even though she's in great health,
Right.
you have a car, you put 100,000 miles on it, you change the oil, you change the tires, it still has 100,000 miles on it.
That's true.
The
grass withers and the flowers fade.
and so, because they're like our fragile population, they're at more risk.
So, what I've been telling people is, if you have a compromised immune system, you definitely should consider getting it. Talk to your doctor or whoever. I can't tell you to or not.
Right.
If you are elderly, you definitely should look at getting it. Talk to your doctor. It's not my decision. You've already talked about people that are young and strong and healthy. And like I said, I hope that, I'm sure somebody's doing a study, because they do studies
Yeah.
on everything.
Oh,
because I think that is a good study for them to do, to see what group of people are experiencing these long-term things, after long-term symptoms that are really the heart, the lungs, the brain.
Yeah.
What group, what's the common denominator there?
I'm glad you brought that up, because they have in New York, on the East Coast, New York, and I believe, I want to say Delaware, I can't remember, but they're putting together these clinic for these long haulers, and it's
Okay.
going to be like a multidisciplinary clinic. So it'll have like a neurologist, a cardiologist, a rheumatologist, a lung doctor, a pulmonologist, and they're going to study these patients. They're doing fit testing, and they're doing like all kinds of like crazy things to see, like, is there a common denominator? Like, what is the disease process? Like, what is really happening in these patients? And it'll probably be, retrospective, looking back, what kind of course did they have in the hospital? What kind of medications did they get? Those kinds of things. But it is actually something that they're studying and looking at.
Yeah, especially for those people that were healthy.
Yes.
That
There's
were
a girl
quote
on
unquote healthy.
Yeah, Good Morning America. She was like 40 years old, a triathlete, runner, triathlete runner, and never smoked, never drank, ate healthy, vegan, all this stuff. She got COVID-19. She's on oxygen. She can barely get around.
That's the girl I saw on TV.
Maybe she
That's
can
the
barely
girl I
get out
saw
of
on
bed
TV.
some days. I
Yeah.
mean, and why? And we
Right.
don't really know.
Yeah, that's the girl I saw on TV. Okay, so like I said, Pastor Chuck got his COVID shot the other day.
Okay.
And I haven't gotten mine, and you're giving me information, and I'm going to continue to look at the research, and because I have to make my own decision. Okay, so I'm just kind of curious, because there's so much stuff out there, and you don't know if it's true, you don't know if it's not. Okay, now I'm going to preface this. I don't think there's ever been a vaccine ever that they came out with that there weren't some people that died from that vaccine. Is that correct? I mean, for the most part.
For people have reactions to vaccines.
Different levels
Yes,
of reactions,
yes.
because otherwise they wouldn't
Yeah.
know how to. Okay. Is there a percentage of people who have died from the COVID vaccine?
No, there has not been a linked case to the COVID vaccine and death. Now, there was I know what you're prefacing, there was a...
Oh, no, I'm not prefacing anything with this. I do a lot of subjects. But
no.
This is just something I heard, but you can't go from what you hear.
Yeah,
No.
there was a story in the news about a physician that got the COVID vaccination. He got the first one, and within 2 weeks, he died. And when they were looking at the data so far, it has not been linked to the corona
Okay.
vaccination.
Now, what I did hear, though, was Hank Aaron
Yeah.
got the COVID, but he
Yeah.
had, I think he had some underlying, well, he's
Yes.
old.
So
too.
I was on the podcast and I got in trouble for saying this before. So I'm going to be very
Yeah, be very careful. We don't
I'll
want you
be
getting
very
fired.
careful.
Yeah, because you're breaking free. Yeah.
He had some underlying health conditions. He was elderly.
Yes.
Sometimes correlation doesn't mean causation, right? Because two things are linked together, it doesn't mean that one thing caused the other thing, right?
Very good.
So
Yeah.
the crows in the morning and the sun comes up, it doesn't mean that the sun comes up because the crow crows, right?
Like the rooster. My
Like the
husband has
rooster.
a
I think it's
message
rooster.
called about the rooster crowing it, and the rooster thinks that the sun came up because he crowed.
Exactly.
Okay, so the same
And so,
thing, yeah.
there may be a correlation, but may not be the cause of his death.
And it could be that 1 in a million.
Could be one
We
in a
just
million.
don't know. Okay. And once again, I mean, when you really start looking, they're experimenting. Now, that they've done the experiments, and now they're giving the actual.
Well,
vaccine.
this is science. This is calculated science. So we're not like experimenting on people. Like, let's give them this and see what happens. They've done studies. They've
That's what I'm
looked at.
saying.
Yeah.
They've done all that before
Yeah.
they started injecting it into
Right.
our arms. They
Wait,
did the
you know,
experiment.
and it has to pass through all these safety guidelines. Like, no one wants to give anyone something that's going to hurt them or going to kill them. There are people that are researchers, epidemiologists, people that are making the vaccination. I mean, these are regular people that this is their passion, this is their job. Just like I'm on this stage talking about medicine and I love this stuff. This is they have passion and fervor. This is what they do. And no one's in the back like taking money from big pharma to people want to make a difference, and this is what they love to do in their livelihood. And so, I think that no safety has been compromised or any of those things. And, one of the people that made the vaccination is actually a black lady. She was like one of the
My husband
forerunners.
talks about Lizzie or somebody, but my husband talks about her every week because like 8 months ago, God showed him to start praying for the scientists. So every week our church was hearing, pray for the scientists.
Yes.
But there was one specific scientist that he said, pray for her. And then she was one of the ones that came out.
Yes, she's a genius. I mean, I've seen her on podcasts. I've seen her on, the words that come out of this woman. I mean,
I
she's
need
just,
to look her- I need to
she's
listen to
just, Dr. Corbett, Dr.
Yeah.
Grimes is one of
Yeah,
them
Dr.
as
Corbett
well.
is the one that he's always talking about.
I mean, she just is one of the smartest and most intelligent, articulate woman that I've heard in a long time.
Well, praise God. Okay, so I was telling you that Pastor Chuck got the
Yeah,
vaccine.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay, because I forgot what I was
I
going to
know,
do. I'm
you
like,
caught
okay, wait a
up.
minute. Okay. And I haven't, but this is still what I told him, and I wanted to make sure I'm right. I told him, just because you got that vaccine does not mean that you can't spread it to us. And it also doesn't mean that you can't get it. I think it just means that if you get the COVID, you're not going to have to go to the hospital and you're not going to die. But
That
you can
is a
still
good
get
point.
it.
Yes.
Okay.
Vaccination does not eliminate transmission, right? It doesn't keep you from giving COVID-19 to someone else if you're infected. What it does is it helps to boost your immune system so that you can overcome the virus. The other thing that vaccination does is it decreases the viral load in your body. So it does decrease the chance of you spreading it to someone else, but doesn't completely annihilate the chance of you.
So you still have to be careful.
You have to be. So that's why they say still wear your mask.
Thank you.
Still wash your hands. Still socially distance. That is going to be, that's going to be the mantra. Wash your hands, socially distance, wear a mask for some time, honestly.
Well, you know what? Yeah, the mask for some time. I hope we continue to wash our hands.
Yes,
when
yes,
COVID, seriously, when this came out, I was saying so many times, why did coronavirus have to come out to tell people to wash your hands?
Yes.
Seriously. And so, okay, if somebody already had COVID, because we have one of our pastors, Pastor Billy, had coronavirus about a month ago. He's back totally normal. He was one of the ones that didn't have the long term, but when he had it, he was sleeping like 16 hours a day. Okay, but now he's negative. He has tested negative a few times. But so somebody that has had COVID, my niece, do they need to still get the shot?
Great question. I'm glad you asked. So we know that what we call wild type infection, so infection regularly in the world, if you get a mild form of COVID, your body may not have mounted a big enough immune response to have enough memory cells floating around in your body. So if you are exposed to it again, you may get another case of COVID-19, a more severe case.
Oh, really? More severe?
A more severe case. If you had a mild case,
okay.
And we know too that with wild type infection and regular like exposure, your antibodies only last for maybe a few months because you don't have such a strong immune response. And so we are recommending that people that have had coronavirus, COVID-19, also get vaccinated, because if you are exposed to coronavirus, you might not have enough immunity to overcome it. Now,
Go. No.
if you have had coronavirus, they say that you should wait until 90 days after symptoms before you get the vaccination.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because, if you still have virus floating around, if your immune system is still fighting and trying to get rid of the inflammation and all those things, you don't want to, invoke more immune response to your body already fighting.
Okay, so you want it to be...
Yeah, you want your body to calm down, settle down, go in relax mode, and then...
And then get it, so 90 days after.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, question, okay. Let me go back to what you were talking about just now. So if you have a severe case of coronavirus, and you totally recover, can you get it twice?
Usually what we're seeing is that people that have severe cases and survive, usually will not contract coronavirus again. It's the people that have like the asymptomatic spreaders, the people that are asymptomatic, they may have like lost their taste or their smell or something, but they never had any shortness of breath or anything. We worry about those people that have really mild cases, that their body didn't mount enough of a response and they could get more severe cases. And there's been a couple of documented cases of that.
So if you get the shot and you were to contract it, is it more likely that you, even if you contract it, you're going to be asymptomatic if you've had the shot?
So if you got vaccinated and then you got exposure to coronavirus, you're likely to have a very mild case and not...
Or asymptomatic?
Or maybe asymptomatic. You may not even...
Okay, I read a couple weeks ago, because I love to read. Okay. I read that 1 in 5 people that actually have coronavirus are asymptomatic.
I don't know if 1 in 5 is a pretty high percentage. I don't actually know the percentage. A lot of people, that's probably accurate. Most people have a mild case and they recover and do fine. My vision is a little bit skewed because I see the sickest of the sickest. So to me, everybody that gets coronavirus is very sick.
But that's another question, though. Okay, so now you have the common cold. It's called common because at some particular point, everybody gets the common cold. You have the flu. And pretty much, if you're over 20, at some particular time in your life, you have probably had the flu. Isn't it likely that at some particular point that most people are going to get the coronavirus, but maybe not?
So this is an idea that's called herd immunity, right?
Yeah,
have you heard this?
Tell us about herd immunity.
Herd immunity means enough people have a disease or a virus like coronavirus that it doesn't affect the whole population, basically. Everyone's been exposed to it and they have immunity, right? They've had exposure, their bodies have built antibodies against it, and they're okay. If they come in contact with it again, they're okay.
Okay.
The challenge with coronavirus is that in order for us to induce herd immunity, 90% of the population is going to have to get COVID-19. What does that mean? That means that hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. The only way that you gain herd immunity, and I want you all to be very clear about this.
Okay.
The only way that we get herd immunity is with vaccination. That is the only way. Coronavirus is not going to go away. It's not going to dance into the sunset. It's not going to go away on its own. The only way that we're going to get rid of coronavirus is with vaccination. Point in case. Polio. Anybody ever seen a case of polio?
I did when I was a kid.
When you were a kid recently?
My friend, no.
Vaccination. Measles. Ever seen measles? Mumps, rubella.
No.
Vaccination.
Yeah, I remember.
The reason that we've never seen these, I've seen one case in my medical career of measles and one case of rubella, and both of them did not survive. The only reason that we don't see these in the population is because of vaccination. It's because of vaccination. And so, although, you know, we're giving you information and, you know, I want you to make your own decision, I strongly encourage you all to really do the research and really get some reputable sites and sources and really consider getting vaccinated.
Okay, so you're really pushing me, which is good, pushing me, but I'm still got questions.
Yeah.
So let's go to these. I remember, you weren't born because you're like probably my kids' age, but I remember them marching the whole school down to get the little red serum, because that's how we got our vaccinations when they first came out. And then I remember later on when I went to Africa in 2000, I got the shot. However, no, that was for polio. The serum was for polio. The vaccination was
MMR was for, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so, okay, what's my question? My question is, with those part of the trials before they gave these shots to us or serums or whatever, they still had the long-term effects. They watched these people, and it's like 10 years, I think the average, 10 to 15 years for the average vaccine to come out, medicine, whatever, and they don't have that for this. And that's a lot, seriously, this is a lot of concern with people. The people that I know that specifically are saying they are not getting it, others might have other reasons, but the ones I know, they're like, no, in a year, when I see what everything's gonna happen, then I'll get it. So talk to us about that.
So I have two things to say about that. So let's talk about Tuskegee, because it's a big, it's a big
when we saw that movie with Richard Pryor.
It's a big subject. And so what happened in Tuskegee in those trials is that people had syphilis. They did not give them syphilis. They already had this. If you read the study, yes, they did not give them syphilis. These men and women already had syphilis. What they did was they withheld the treatment. At that time, it was penicillin. They withheld the treatment for them and watched the disease progress and to see what happened. And so that's where a lot of distrust from medicine comes from Black Americans, and rightfully so. But this vaccination is different. We have a cure. We have something to help with coronavirus. And by not taking it, we're almost Tuskegeeing ourselves, right? We have something that can help us not
Very good.
That's good. Get the virus, and we don't want to take it.
That is really, really good.
And so, you know, I understand the distrust. I understand it 100%, our community. But, you know, medicine is different. If you have cancer, you take chemotherapy, you take radiation. If you have diabetes, you take blood pressure medication. You know, you take your insulin and blood pressure medications. The same people that make our medicine and that are studying this, scientists, are the same people that are making our medicine. If you go to Africa, you got to get yellow fever vaccination. If you go to some other place, you have to
get four shots
vaccinations.
To go to,
And then they're safe. You know, the timeline and the challenge is that, you know, sometimes we don't understand everything that goes on behind the scenes. And now we're in a day and age where the internet, like, you know, you can Google anything. You can put anything in Google and come up with all kinds of information.
Some good, some
And
bad, some true,
good
some
and some
false. That's why
bad.
I'm glad you're here.
And you have to weed out like the good and the bad. You have to, you know, like my mom says, you have to consider the source, right? You have to look at where your information is coming from. And so, you know, I believe that Tuskegee was a terrible, terrible situation for the African American community, but this vaccination is not that.
We got to get over that. How does somebody know if they have COVID?
Okay, so, this is a good question. Most people will have fevers, they will have chills. The telltale symptom that people hear is loss of taste and smell, shortness of breath, cough. You feel like you just got hit by a Mack truck. You just don't feel well. And so there are things that you can do at home. Now listen, I'm not giving anybody any medical advice. If you're sick, if you're not feeling well, please seek medical advice. But if you have a mild case, there's vitamins that you could take, vitamin C, we know vitamin D.
I was going to ask you about that, but I didn't know if I should go there because I listened a lot of, so you tell us.
I believe that our body has the ability to heal itself. I believe in medicine, and I believe in the power of God.
Okay.
And the three of those together, we can conquer anything.
So what do you take?
So me, I take vaccination.
Okay. I take my D, I take C, I take zinc, I do a lot of ginger.
Yeah. And if you do have COVID-19, they say, and we know the best thing to do is to what we call prone, is to sleep on your stomach, because the majority of your lung tissue is in your back. And when you sleep on your stomach, you allow your lungs to open up and exchange oxygen more. Also, when you sleep on your stomach, you prevent all the mucus and everything with gravity from going to the back of your stomach. So if you have coronavirus, you're having shortness of breath, and your oxygen levels are okay, sleep on your stomach. 18 hours a day.
So you are a medical doctor that does believe in supplements.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I have a cousin that's a naturopathic doctor, and she practices natural medicine. And one day, we're going to do some collaboration. So.
I think that's good. My doctor that I go to a female doctor. She's one of the few doctors in the Inland Empire that has a holistic and a medical degree.
Yeah,
and that's why I got on her. I almost never go. I go once a year. She actually called me and said, "You haven't been in." I'm like, "Well, I'm not sick." She's like, "No, you come anyway and get tested."
And honestly, medicine is moving that way. I mean, people, they want to be healthy. People are taking more control of their health, of being educated about their bodies and about what's going on with their body. I mean, we see this now with, all this vaccination obsession and all this stuff, is that people want to know.
Someplace we got to go in a hot second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so last week on our show, I had I was called Chanel. She's a life coach, but she's
I saw that when I watched it. She had the little head wrap. Beautiful. Where'd you get it from? Let me know.
She's gorgeous. And that was my second son, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, and Chris was sick in the bed for about a year.
Oh, wow.
He had gone out of the country, studied at USC.
Oh, cool.
So, and he was down in Central America for probably a couple of years studying, and came back with something, and the doctors did not know what he had. And he was going to all these doctors, and nobody could help him, and he was getting sicker and sicker. And seriously, about the end of a year, he just got up one day, and he just went and got all these books, medical books. And he just read and read and read for years, because it really took him like about 10 years to get his health back. Now he's the epitome. You saw him with those big biceps. Well, 15 years ago, he was skin and bones. Bottom line, so he's studied and studied, and he studies everything, but he has me making sure that I stay well with my not just my supplements though. I work out every day. I mean, at least 5 I try to work out 6 days a week except Sunday, but I always do at least 5. My biggest thing that I'm not doing that I know I need to, because you gotta wash your body out, is my water. And I don't drink sodas or anything like that, but I got to get that water intake up. And I had a good system, and then I got busy this week that at the top of every hour, I'm drinking 8 ounces of water. But all that to say, that last week. So you saw the show. So you saw the show last week. So I do believe there's a balance.
Absolutely.
And I believe that we do need to do everything we can to have our bodies healthy. And I don't think, my people, God says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And knowledge, we're in the information age.
Yes, absolutely.
So knowledge is just readily available, and good knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about what somebody posted on their Facebook. I'm talking about good knowledge. Yeah.
And you make a good point. Like, a lot of people say, oh, coronavirus is mild and like most people recover, but you're expecting your immune system to overcome this virus. So you have to give it the tools that it needs. You can't cut its legs off and tell it to run a marathon, You have to.
You have the best examples.
You have to eat right. You have to exercise. You have to drink your water. You eat healthy, eat clean. You can't pull in the drive-thru at McDonald's every day and think that you're gonna fight coronavirus and beat it.
And
it's just
on my Facebook today, because I have a Facebook Bible study I do every day. By the way, Facebook Bible study, Charlene Singleton, 12 o'clock every day. We've been going to like 30 minutes. We were doing an hour for a while. But I was talking about process. You don't get sick overnight. You don't get well overnight. But you can start at any time getting that body healthy. If you saw the show last week, you saw I try to eat as close to nature as possible. If man got to it, I'm like, I'm going to think twice about anything I eat that man has gotten to. I do have a couple more questions because our time is up.
Okay.
One, talk to us again. You kind of alluded to this, but I'd like to know a little bit more. Why do people lose their sense of taste and smell when they have coronavirus?
Well, the virus can enter any cell in your body. And is there a predilection for neurologic cells? I don't know, but we know that it can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause a loss of sense of taste and smell. And we know that the virus can go anywhere and attack any organ system. I mean, there is a thing called COVID toes where people are losing their toes because because it was attacking the vessels in the vascular system. I mean, it's just, this is like not any virus that we've ever seen in our lifetime, in our generation.
And we're going to be, I'm going to close this, but this is one of the things. My husband and I were going back and forth on, was coronavirus from God or was it from the enemy? Because there are instances in the Word of God where God does bring judgment on his people. You got a whole book of Judges, but you have several places in the Old Testament and a couple in the New Testament where God brought judgment on his people. So I never made I always said, I don't care where it came from. The main thing is God still allowed it. However, I now believe that God did not bring this, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because coronavirus is disproportionately affecting Black people, brown people, old people. Okay? That's discriminatory. And when God brings judgment,
it's not
he's going to bring judgment to everybody. If my people are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, will forgive their sins, and will heal their land. And so, because I was thinking about this the other day, I said, wow, coronavirus is almost like purging old people and minorities. I'm like, that's not from God.
Yeah.
So, but that's when because I had just been praying, God, show me. Now, at the same time, God still is allowing it. And I think he's allowing it, one, to cause people to see, as you alluded to this, praise God for the vaccine. But that vaccine is only going to do what God tells it to do, what God causes it to do. And even the vaccine, that was God that gave man the knowledge in the
to
first
do it.
place.
Yeah.
So I cannot believe how fast an hour goes. Wow. You are a joy. Not only are you intelligent.
Thank you.
Not only are you absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
And once again, thank you for having some lipstick on.
Yes.
Okay.
I love your makeup as well.
Thank you. And you're highly intelligent, gorgeous, but I love your heart for the Lord. I love your enthusiasm. I like enthusiastic people. I just like happy people.
Yes.
And so for being on, I have a couple of gifts for you.
Oh.
Okay, I am a Mary Kay consultant. Actually, I'm a Mary Kay director. And this is our skincare line. You're already gorgeous.
Thank you so
but
much.
you can't be, I tell people, you can't be too cute. And you can't have too good skin. You can always
Yes,
take care
improve.
of your skin.
Yes, yes, yes.
Always improve. And so this skin is from Jesus, because I try not to worry about stuff, because that will definitely steal your looks. This skin is from my mom, because those good genes, but it's from like 25 years of Mary Kay skincare. So I have this for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I have this lipstick for you too. I left it in my car.
Yes, I love a red
This is Firecracker Red lipstick.
Firecracker.
And
I'm a
you
firecracker.
got that pink on, and you look great. And this is something that you can really use. You know, I was talking about washing hands all the time. The problem with washing your hands all the time is they get dried out.
Dry.
This is have you heard about our Mary Kay satin hands?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, you're gonna love this. One of our ladies, her doctor bought 36 sets of satin hands for everybody on his staff. I said, man, I wish that was my doctor. Dr. Roan, you hear that? I think
Dr.
his
Roan.
wife is a Mary Kay consultant. No. Anyhow, this is a 3-part set. It has a
it's
softener
beautiful.
you do
Yeah.
first, and no water yet. And then it has a scrub. And
Okay.
it's going to scrub all the dead
don't
skin.
even look at my
Actually, just
hands.
before I came on the show, I looked at my hands, and I'm like, ooh, you need satin hands. I went up in my husband's office because I keep them. And then it has a shade. You should use this.
Thank you so much.
Definitely, this is something that you will absolutely love.
Yes. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
and so for you, if you would like some satin hands, you can go to godswoman.com and press on more, and then press on Mary Kay. Godswoman.com, press on more, press on Mary Kay. And seriously, it's called satin hands because it will give you brand new hands, but your hands are going to get dried out if you wash them as much as you should be washing them, and that will help. Dr.
Pastor
Nicole.
Shine, thank you so much
Oh
for
my
having me. And let me just talk my little mouth off.
No, that's what I wanted. And you made it so easy. I'm like, don't you do a podcast or something?
Yes, so you can follow me. You can find me at Nicole Denise on Facebook. And also Instagram. I have a fashion Instagram blog, Dr. McCutie.
I saw that. What Michelle just told me, Dr. McCutie.
Dr. McCutie.
I love it.
And I think Michelle Sanchez, she's a good friend of mine, and so I'll repost and tag myself in it. So feel free to follow me. I do medical updates. I go live. I talk about, hot topics in the media and things like that so that we can be educated.
I'm going to definitely cue into that. Michelle is the love of my life.
Yes.
I love her and Michael, and I know that it's because of you that my friend Michael, Michelle's twin, God used you so that he's still on this side of heaven.
Yeah, that's my best
with
friend.
us.
That's my friend.
He's our friend.
And this is family. I mean,
yeah,
they're
they are.
family,
Our families go so far back. I'm like, wow, like 40 years back. Our families do. So thank you, Michelle. Michelle is my co-producer of the show.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm so glad that you guys joined us, and we will see you. Michelle's going to give me someplace on here. She told me what we were going to be talking about next. Oh, yes. Thank you. Okay, next Loveland@lovelandchurch.org. Loveland@lovelandchurch.org. Okay, so send us your videos. If you're planning on coming to Mom Brewington's homegoing service Wednesday, February the 24th, viewings 10 o'clock, service is 11 o'clock here at Loveland. We are doing total COVID protocol. We have the electrostatic sanitizers. We're doing the 6-foot distancing. We need to, but you got to reserve. Do not just show up here. Call the church office, 909-427-0478, 909-427-0478. Or if the church office is closed, half of y'all have my number. It's on the side of my car. So text me and let me know you want to come. All right, we are way over time. Praise God for that this is the time of online TV. Okay, so we are going to see you next week, 6 o'clock. Thank you for joining us on The Living Room. And I'm going to give a hand clap to our guest, Dr. Nicole Sims.
Thank you so much.
Bye. We're out? Okay.
All right, it was good. Thank you so
Okay,
much.